Hello everybody, I'm James Spadola, City Council at Large. Thrilled to be here with you with Kevin Simmons, new owner of Mauchline Mansion, and today we're here to talk about how we got here and see what's going on with the house. So thank you for being with me today.
Thanks for taking interest.
Happy to. So as part of my research, first thing I did was I read the News Journal article on the house, and it described you and your wife Cheryl as San Francisco tech leaders. Can you talk about your background and your wife's, especially as the CEO of UTech?
Yeah, I married up. She's a very talented woman. She was a CEO of a small company that ultimately sold to Kroger, and then was resold to another company where she retired. I did high tech companies like Salesforce, but I really focused on doing startups. But my background is really international sales and operations.
Okay. And I'm curious, are there any similarities between your work in tech and tinkering with things and the houses you've redone in the past that have brought you to today?
I've always been hands-on, like learning how to code and learning how to identify software, but put myself through college doing construction work, roofing houses, and working for finished carpenters. So I'm using that part of it.
Sure.
And I'm also really cheap and I like to do things myself.
Okay, so you're good with the hammer is what you're saying.
I can destroy things with the best of them.
Okay. And so this is not your first rodeo?
No. We've done several houses, but the last one we did was on the historic register as well, and that was in Old Salem, North Carolina. And that house was built in 1873, and we were really proud of that house.
Okay. So you've done this a few times, and you haven't been burned enough that you figured you had to try one more time. No, is that right?
It isn't by choice. I would have been done. But we had our second grandchild, and my wife informed me that we were moving up to the Philadelphia area. So that's what brought us here.
Okay, so you have the family element, and I'm guessing you see the HGTV show where they feature this, or how does this one come on your radar?
I actually don't know. I think Cheryl saw it online or somewhere, and we were looking for houses in the area. So I came up to look at it, and I told her I don't hate it. I don't hate it nearly as much as I want to, and we just jumped in with both feet.
Can you tell me about the history of the house?
Yeah, so the house was built. It was built in 1916 for the sum of $68,000, and it was built at the same time as like Nemours and some other of the DuPont homes. So they used a lot of the same trades. It was Frank Gifford Talman, who was an engineer and an executive at DuPont. Funny thing is, his grandson was Frank Gifford Talman III, who did all the stunt work for like the Mustang, John Wayne movies and everything else. And he wrote him a letter saying, "You'll be no good at anything if you keep playing with your airplanes." But in 1973, thereabouts, it was bought by the Catholic Church and became a convent. The nuns lived here until, we believe, around 2002, when the house became vacant. So it sat vacant basically from 2002 to 2022. And that's what the condition we found it in.
And I saw there was potential for a nun reunion.
Yeah, so the nuns have been in touch with us, and my mother is in touch with the Franciscans in Philadelphia. And there's 2 or 3 that lived here that are still alive, and they've expressed interest in coming and seeing the house. Father Joe, who I guess spoke, it was at St. Joseph's here. Him and my mom are coming next week to see the house, and he hasn't been in it since the early 2000s.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah.
So when did you get started here?
It would have been September of 22.
Okay.
Yeah, is when we first started doing things.
And when did you think you would finish?
I'd hoped to have been done by September 23, but we had to wait on a lot of things because we had to go through all the historical approvals, and that really slowed us down because it's a lot of work.
Okay. When do you think you'll be finished now?
I have to be done in September this year because it's going to be our wedding anniversary, and that's my drop dead date. So that's the goal.
An early congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
What have been some of the biggest pitfalls since you've been working on, some of the biggest surprises? I understand you contemplated quitting even.
Every day. It's trying to find trades and trying to find people that that understand the work and are as passionate about the work as I am. I don't like to hire somebody who's just going to come and do the job. I want somebody to come in and take ownership and to think about quality of work. So that's been the hardest thing, trying to find that.
I understand the heating system, that each room has its own thermostat, similar to how the ancient Romans built some of their, and probably only similar to the Vanderbilt in North Carolina.
Yeah. The hypocast is what the Romans use, and it's called odon in Korea, where they heated underneath the house and that air came up into the house. In those days, a lot of people died of carbon dioxide, but they didn't know why. But this had the same sort of idea of how can we heat rooms from below, and they basically built chases with these radiators, and it was phenomenal engineering for 1916.
But you can see here, this is what we were talking about a little bit upstairs using the hypocast. So you can see the hole, and these were wrapped in that galvanized metal, and then above you can see an actuator that opened up that vacuum, that opened up the gate to allow the heat to go up into the rooms or to close based on the temperature that was desired.
So a lot of these city homes have lead paint, and again, you have experience with that with your previous homes. Anything crazy about the lead paint in here, or anything? Was it a pain to remediate?
We've remediated almost all the lead paint, disposed of it properly, but we use a product called EcoStrip, which is fantastic because it heats the resin of the wood to release the paint, and it doesn't get hot enough to release the lead vapor. So as long as you clean up the strips of lead paint, you can mitigate them. So we've done every window, every door, any painted surface, and we've mediated all the lead out of the house.
Well, it's got to be grandkid friendly.
Yeah, well, that's
So can you tell me about some of your plans on making this house accessible to the public, or some of the yards? The News Journal article mentioned a couple references to weddings or historical societies having fundraisers here.
Sure. A house like this needs to be given back. So our goal was, how do we pay for it? General upkeep on a property like this is expensive. If we do it right the first time, it's just ongoing. So I don't have those numbers yet. But the fact of the matter is, it would still benefit the community if we can do fundraisers, if we can do charitable events. The greenhouse in the back, we want to, once we get refurbished, we want to use that to feed to the community gardens that are seedlings for spring and fall, so that they have someplace they can go. Then we'd also, you'll see when you walk through, we've designated one side of the house where we're going to sort of live, and the other side of the house we're going to utilize hopefully for, say, a wedding party. If the bride wants to stay here the night before a wedding and she's getting married, say, at St. Anthony's, she and her bridesmaids can stay here the night before, or even do a rehearsal dinner, and then if they did the reception in the backyard with a tent, they could stay, get ready, go to the church, and then come back here and be ready to go. So that's sort of our views, how we'd like things to work.
How has your mascot Apollo been handling all the transitions?
He is the best sight dog, period. He loves people. He's really good. He stays out of the way. He's not broken anything. So no, he's good. When I'm in a bad mood because something's not going right, he's always there and trying to cheer me up. So
how can people follow along and see what's next?
We did, out of necessity, set up a Facebook page. It's under Mauchline, Mauchline, and then Mauchline Manor on Instagram. And we try to keep updated because just the local community. It was really funny. We were cleaning up the front yard one day, and I don't know what we were doing, but some guy drives by and screams out, "I'm following you on Instagram," which is something I thought I'd never hear.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. This has been thrilling to be inside. I can't wait for the tour, and best of luck.
Fantastic. Thank you for coming.
Happy to.